Welcome, SENS Talk.
Here comes Smith with a pass across. He scores! He bats it in! Tim Stutzler wins it for Ottawa! Richard Grant is going to put the finishing touches on an Ottawa win. See you later. Go Sens, go!
Welcome to SENS Talk. My name is Brandon Plant, and I am your host tonight. Ottawa looks to bounce back after a tough loss last night to the Los Angeles Kings as they cross the city going to Orange County in Anaheim to take on the Ducks. In a game where, look, Ottawa going into this game is 1-0 on the road trip, looking to at least get 4 out of 6 points after these 3 games in California. So let's see if they can do that. Now, going to this game, not many line changes other than Nick Cousins coming in for Cole Reinhardt, which is a bit of a head-scratcher, to be honest with you. Cole Reinhardt's looked fine, and I think there are other players, especially during this tough stretch, that should have been benched to make a statement. Cole Reinhardt, unfortunately, gets the benching because he's the young, new player, and that's just normally what's going to happen. But I think in a situation like Ottawa's in right now, you know, especially after a tough loss, maybe benching a key player, even if it's like an Amadio or something, would have sent a message to the team. So I think there was a missed opportunity there from Travis Green. But again, I'm not the head coach, so that's just my opinion. Now let's get into this game. Look, TSN today said the next 10 opponents for Ottawa, 3 of them, only 3, are playoff teams. So this is a pivotal stretch for the Ottawa Senators. Not only do they need to at least, go 500 on this road trip to just keep the pace, but more importantly, Ottawa needs to take advantage of these games against non-playoff teams. And tonight, against the Ducks, one of the rare times Ottawa's playing a team worse than them in the standings, they have to get the win. So let's get into it. To the first period of play we go, and of course, it's the Ducks who strike first. 1-0 for the Ducks. Vetrano roofs a one-timer past Linus Ullmark on the power play to give the Ducks the early 1-0 lead. This was a weird one because Linus Ullmark by no means is expected to stop this shot. It was an absolute cannon of a shot from Vetrano, and he should have been covered, to be honest with you. He shouldn't have not been able to get that one-time shot, but at the same time, Linus Ullmark was very deep in his net here. And, if you look at the replay, you can make the argument that, yeah, he's deep in his net because there's a guy in his crease. The defense should push him out of the crease. Fair enough, but this has been a reoccurring thing for Linus Ullmark, where he is deep in his crease a lot for these one-time power play goals. Now, I don't know if that's just because of the SENS scheme on the penalty kill. I don't know if that's just because of his style of play where he wants to respect the pass a bit more than normal. But I would like him to challenge the shooter a bit more there. But again, just a perfect shot. So not going to blame him for that whatsoever. Well, in fact, Linus Ullmark was actually fantastic in this game, and he's been pretty good on this entire road trip. Against San Jose was very good, and tonight, we'll talk about it in the game notes, also very good. But Ottawa gives up the first goal. When they do so, they are 2-11-1 on the year when giving up the first goal. So Ottawa, not looking great, but tonight, and we'll talk about this later and throughout the video, but Ottawa tonight, they showed some fight. They showed some passion. They showed some grit. They showed some determination, and they showed some desperation. Finally, it only took till like game number 24 on the year, 25, whatever it is, on the year to get some desperation. But finally, we're seeing it because guess what? You at least need to get a point out of this game, split the road trip at 500, go back at home, and maybe start winning some games at home. But, look, there's a lot of teams right now in mid situations. The National Hockey League is very... there's a mixed bag. There's not a lot of teams blowing other teams out of the water right now. There's a very good shot for Ottawa to get back into the race, but they got to get back into the race only by doing one thing. Win, win, win. So, tonight they clearly felt that, and late in the first period of play, they would get a response. Tim Stutzler from the top of the hash mark, late on the power play, puts it home. Tkachuk out front, tips it home, and Ottawa ties it at 1 late in the first period of play. Get used to that. Ottawa would not go away quietly in this one. They would tie it at 1 after 20 minutes of play. A huge power play goal here for your Senators. Tim Stutzler, I thought he scored. Tkachuk actually would score. He got the tip out front. But Timmy Stu, my goodness, this guy's been so good as of late. He has been the best player on the Ottawa Senators by far all season. And I said this on Twitter. I'll say it here. I might get some flack. But look, the SENS tradition of one player dominating and carrying the team on the back continues. Alfie, Carlson, and now Tim Stutzler. Now look, that's no slant towards Brady Tkachuk. But literally, and I think Tkachuk would say this too, no one is generating offense and carrying this team like Tim Stützle right now. And Brady Tkachuk, we'll talk about it, he had a fantastic game, one of his best games of the year, and that's not shocking. He's been the only player, other than Tim Stützle, to be consistently, producing for Ottawa and being a factor for the Sens day in and day out. But Tim Stützle is just another animal, just another type of player. He is so talented, and he continues to just generate offense. That's 7 straight games in a row with a point for Tim Stützle. Batherson as well, 7 straight games with a point, while Tkachuk also extends his point streak to 6 straight games. Now look, I'm going to correct myself. I just checked my notes, and this was a long game. It's a long Sunday. My 49ers are playing right now too. There's a lot of things going on. I did forget about this very briefly. I just checked my notes. Thank goodness I did. Ottawa, of course, would give up a goal in the final 6 seconds. And I mean, my goodness, what kind of defense was on this goal? You cannot even begin. Don't even say anything. Linus Ullmark on this goal. He had no chance. Where is Sanderson out front? What is Amadio doing? What the hell kind of defense is that out front of your goaltender? Ullmark makes multiple stops. Eventually, one of those are going to go in on the doorstep. It does. And it's the Ducks who will lead by 1 going into the second period of play. Just a terrible defensive effort there by Ottawa. And Ullmark just, again, just gets left to the wolves, basically. And, of course, can't stop all of them. Considering literally, I don't know what the hell happened on this goal. He walks right in. No one's in the slot. He gets 4 or 5 chances. Of course, number 5 goes in. They're just standing around watching. It's unbelievable. But, I'm not going to get very heated about this because Ottawa, they responded. Look, Ottawa desperately, they know they need a win. They know they desperately need a win. And it was very evident with how they played throughout this game, especially going into that second period of play, thanks to this early marker by Brady Tkachuk, El Capitano, the tie it up at 2. Early in the second period of play, a massive goal on the breakaway. He puts it home on the rebound. The tie at 2, a great start for Ottawa to kick off the period. And a huge response after a late back-breaking goal in the first period in the last few seconds to get an opening goal in the first 90 seconds of the second period by your captain is a massive momentum shifter. Now, unfortunately, a few minutes after that, it would be all Ducks. They would dominate. Ullmark would steady the waters, steady the ship, made some big stops, and Ottawa would push. They got a few power plays in that second period, but unfortunately they couldn't capitalize on any of those. As we go to the third period, now tied at 2-2, but yeah, you guessed it, it would be the Anaheim Ducks who would strike again in the third period of play to take the lead again. Travis Hamonic's stick tips Vetrano's shot past Linus Ullmark's 5-hole. Now, you probably want Ullmark to stop this one. It was a tough deflection, so out of the goals tonight, yeah, maybe that's the one Ullmark should have stopped. But you can make the argument that, again, it's understandable he didn't make the stop because it was a quick shot right out front with a couple bodies moving, so there's a little bit of a screen going on, bit of optical illusion, whatever you want to call it. It was tough for him to track, that being Linus Ullmark. And then the late deflection, it's a little different compared to the goal last night to Forsberg off JBD skating in, because JBD was far, far, far away from Forsberg on that deflection, while Linus Ullmark was just a few feet away. It was like he was right here and then a couple feet away, literally where this camera is where Hamonic was and his stick was. So you can say what you will about Ullmark. I'm going to give him the pass on that one, especially because how he played today. But again, Sanderson has to be stronger there on Vetrano. Can't just let him walk in and spin around and shoot it. And then, of course, Hamonic needs to be more aware with the stick. If he's going to get it, the stick in the lane, make sure it doesn't get deflected. Make sure you get your body out there just to block the shot. Don't let that shot even through. But again, this was a quick shot. So easier to say from the comfort of my couch than, of course, being on the ice physically. But Ottawa, this is another 3+ goal game against for the Ottawa Senators. That's 9 straight games in a row. Ottawa's given up 3+ goals. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. We all know it. They know it. And you're not going to win many games when you give up 3+ goals consistently, especially when Ottawa's struggling to score. They're scoring less than 3 goals a game on average. So, again, you're not going to win, especially when you're the Ottawa Senators right now and are struggling to score. But luckily, and look, I'll say this. A big reason why Ottawa is struggling to score as of late is because of their bottom 6. No one in that bottom 6 is contributing. Amadio, not contributing. Shane Pinto, been very quiet. Really, Greg, only taking penalties. No one's really done anything in that bottom 6. Until now, though, a great goal here. It's a me, Amadio, Michael Amadio, a nice pass along the boards, finds Nick Cousins streaking through the middle, and he tips it home in the slot. The tie at 3, again, for the 3rd time tonight. The Ottawa Senators come back to tie it after giving up a goal. They are not going away quietly. That desperate hockey is clearly showing for your Ottawa Senators as Nick Cousins gets his first goal in 14 games, second of the year for him, and Amadio gets his first point in 9 games. Hopefully that gets him going. We desperately need the bottom 6 to get going. Batherson, Tkachuk, and Stützle, and those 3 have been dominating, like I just said. They all have gotten points at least in the last 6 games. They are dominating, and they are single-handedly carrying the Ottawa Senators, but that's not sustainable. You need the other lines to contribute, thank goodness. Hopefully this is going to be the spark of something to get that bottom 6 going. But a huge goal there for Ottawa with a tie at 3. Nick Cousins, moments later, would get into a fight, and good on him for showing some mercy. He knocked down, I think, a rookie player for the Ducks. A few punches, uppercuts to the face. He's on the ground. Cousins just skates away, doesn't even continue the fight. Good on him for showing some mercy there. Literally could have killed that guy. So clearly that shifted the momentum, though, because for the remainder of the 3rd period of play, Ottawa was absolutely the better team. Without a question, they were the better team. But it didn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter. They would kill off a couple penalties, and this one would go to overtime. And now look, I said at the beginning of this video, Ottawa at least would like to go 500 on this road trip. Get at least 3 out of 6, and you kind of fend off any of the anxiety and push it down to another day for this upcoming homestand, where this homestand against some non-playoff teams, you got to win. And especially after the result of this game, you have to win. But at least 3 out of 6 points is going to keep you in the hunt, keep you at pace with the other teams you're chasing. And most importantly, they fought back all game. They deserved at least a point, but they definitely deserve the 2, in my opinion. So we go to overtime, and Linus Ullmark in this overtime period was absolutely dominant. He made multiple game-saving stops. Ottawa looked tired in that overtime period, and it showed. They are coming off a back-to-back. It makes sense, but nonetheless, they looked very tired. They didn't really get any good looks, and Linus Ullmark was the lone reason this would go to the shootout. He was fantastic in that overtime period, but also throughout the game. I mean, he was really good. And on this California road trip, you know, I know the competition isn't the greatest. You know, San Jose and now Anaheim, 2 bottom 5 teams. I get it. But these are still National Hockey League teams. These are teams that have beaten some good teams this year. There's some young, talented players on these teams. And most importantly, every team in the National Hockey League can beat you, okay? So I don't want to hear any of that. Linus Ullmark has looked very good on this road trip, and he's looked like the Linus Ullmark we expected. Hopefully, I'm praying that continues, because if that is the way he plays throughout the rest of the year, Ottawa should be able to get into a groove and start piling up some wins. So we go to the shootout, and I'm just going to cut to it. Ottawa, they lose this game 4-3. They lose the shootout 2-0. Tough game. Just a tough loss there. A tough result in a game where Ottawa deserved to win. They played better. They definitely played better, especially after that Tkachuk goal early on in the second period of play. And they dominated that 3rd period and really pushed. They just couldn't capitalize. And it's not from a lack of trying. I mean, they just didn't get really a lot of good looks. They were generating offensive zone pressure, but the Ducks did a really good job of pushing us to the outside. We didn't really get close to the net. Dastahl made some big stops when necessary, but a lot of those chances we missed, or they were deflected wide or whatever. So, unfortunately, just couldn't get that puck in the back of the net more than we needed to. And unfortunately, Ottawa will fall to the Ducks by a score of 4-3. But hey, at least we're 1-1-1 on the road trip. We got 3 out of 6 points. We're now 10-12-2 on the year, which is not great by any means, but it keeps us in the hunt at the very least. We need wins. I'm not going to take any silver linings, but you know, we got some not easy competition, but some winnable games coming up at home. You got to win those. You win those, and this doesn't matter as much. You lose those, and this game matters quite a bit. So let's see what they can do in the next few games at home. I'll be there on Thursday for the Pizza Line game. I should be there, I think, against the Islanders as well. So hopefully I bring some good luck to the team. But some final game notes. I know this video is going a bit long. It's one thing. I have to say this. I hate 8 o'clock starts. It's so difficult to get this video out at a normal time. So I do apologize if you're watching this very late. But yeah, so let's get to the game notes. So firstly, Ottawa tied this game 3 times. I already mentioned it. I have to say it again. They did a very good job today. They showed some heart. Finally, I love to see it. Not coming just from Tkachuk and Stützle. The whole team really played determined. I think Ullmark was fantastic, making 32 out of 35 stops. Easily one of his best games of the year. Unfortunately, of course, not the result we wanted. But if Ullmark plays like that for the remainder of the year, as I already said, we should be in good hands. Tkachuk tonight, as I already said as well, was a beast. 2 goals. Unfortunately, couldn't get the hat trick. Had a nice between-the-legs shot in the third period. Almost got the hattie on that goal, which would have been electric. But he had 12 shots, tied a career high for him. He had 12 as well on November 9th against Boston. So this guy is so good. When he wants to do something, he does it. And again, it's actually insane how almost half of Ottawa's shots came from Brady Tkachuk alone. And again, the national media has blown this story, whatever the hell you want to call it, of Brady Tkachuk and Ottawa fans, the 5 of them that said this, wanting him to be traded. How can you want this guy traded after a game like this? Just look at his stat line. Look what he did. Look how he single-handedly brought this team back, got them a point, and then tell me again how you want to trade him. It's such stupidity. And of course, the national media is going to run with it. They want the clicks. They want the engagement. Most importantly, I just hope that Tkachuk knows that this is just something being blown out of proportion, and this is not another Jason Spezza situation. Because again, games like this are just another massive reminder of how pivotal a player like this is for this team. And without him, you think we're screwed right now? Just imagine how screwed we will be if we lose Brady Tkachuk, okay? I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, last thing, the bottom 6 tonight was very, very good. Noah Gregor stuck out to me. I thought he was very, very speedy. And I wish Ottawa had more speed along the wings, to be honest with you, because he was flying out there. Had a couple of good drives to the net. Couldn't put them home, unfortunately. Also took a penalty, so not great in that regard, but I thought he had a pretty solid game. The bottom 6 as a whole actually played pretty decently. Amadio and Cousins, of course, connected on that tying goal. But a couple of not so great things is Pinto was invisible again. I don't know if he's dealing with a nagging injury, but he's clearly hurt and dealing with something. While Ridley Gregg took 2 penalties, he needs to be far more disciplined. And it's not even anything about him being a young player. He's been in the league long enough to know he needs to be more disciplined. And some of those penalties, especially the one where it was an interference right in front of the ref, just can't do it. So he needs to get better, especially in situational awareness and most importantly, of course, in just discipline. And then Osip Tkachuk was fine, fine defensively, didn't stick out by any means, but that's probably good. You'd rather not stick out than stick out in a bad way. But yeah, besides that, 10-12-2 in the year as the Ottawa Senators now. They finished the road trip in California at 500. 1-1-1 is basically the definition of mid. So again, as I already said, if they can win these games, these winnable games, at home in the next few games, this won't matter as much. So let's see what they can do. Besides that, I'll have a very interesting video on the Belleville Senators and a potential relocation rumor for the SENS. I'll have that out on Tuesday night with Ryan Kennedy of the Hockey News. So besides that, stay tuned for that in the next couple days, and I'll see you all soon. Go Sens, go.